Business session of Kansas City, Missouri City Council for June 20, 2013 is now in order. First item of business on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the business session of June 13, 2013. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the minutes be approved. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Next order of business is discussion of ordinances, resolutions, and communications on today's docket or for floor introduction. Is there any discussion? Do I have a copy of the resolution, David?
You will now. You will now.
If there's no discussion from anyone else, we plan to and would ask your help and consent in looking at Resolution 130492. The purpose of this resolution really is somewhat benign. At this stage, the city has done business with or attempted to do business with a different class of business, entrepreneurs who have brand new products that they would like to use as a test in Kansas City, entrepreneurs or startups or other businesses who are substantially modifying products that are currently on the market they would like to test in Kansas City. Those types of new issues are things that we have not had much experience with, and therefore it's been kind of a little bit of catch as catch can. A good example of that, I think, might be, I was going to say Screen Point. When they came to town, they wanted to map out things and do some really neat stuff, and it was a real chore to get through an MOU, et cetera, and try to figure out if in the event this works, who owns what's the city's rights and responsibilities, what's the city's opportunity here, how is that measured, what's success like, yada, yada, yada. What we're asking for is rather than every time we have a different company or product that comes in, people that want to use Kansas City as an area to test out something, and as the city decides it might be beneficial for us to allow that or have that happen, that we simply have a more formalized process where it's already been pre-thought out that this is how we do it. And in doing that, set up the necessary administrative regulations, policies, and procedures. This would not affect our normal procurement methods or policies. It would not affect, it would not supplant somebody, it would not inure to the benefit of somebody, for example, who simply wanted to sell us asphalt. And they were going to sell us asphalt at a cheaper price than the people we normally buy asphalt from. Now, this would be for people who wanted to sell us asphalt made out of feathers that lasts longer than anything else, and nobody else has tried it, and we wanted to try it and see if it really did work on certain stretch of road. Then we would have an agreement with them for that product, while the normal asphalt sellers would continue to sell. Good example that I can tell you is probably something that you have some familiarity with now is Tim Sylvester. It has a procedure, a manufacturing process, and product of movable street slabs, where you can take a movable slab of street and pick it up and replace it with another slab, and you can use that in areas where you need to get to conduit or pipes or those types of things. That does not normally fit. That does not fit in our normal procurement process, because what he really would like to do is to say, let me try this out here to make sure it works. We would need this process for that. That's all it is. Now, there's been a ton of people working on this for a long period of time. I think John Wood has, Ashley and Dave and some other people in the manager's office and throughout the structure. And they've come up with a plan that they've actually named the partnership, what is it? The Innovation Partnership Policy or some program, something like that. But what we're asking is that we direct the manager to come up with a cohesive policy and report back to us in 30 days. Councilman Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate the effort that you and everyone else on staff has made. I do have an issue, and I have addressed it with Mr. Rao from your office. I am a bit concerned that not so much with what is trying to be accomplished, but the process by which we are going about it. I'm somewhat nervous that we are doing this as something from the floor without there having been an opportunity for it to be vetted more publicly through the committee structure. Even with the example you used, I would presume that if Mr. Sylvester was to take a slab of concrete and lay it down somewhere to test, there is some assumption of risk that the city takes in doing so. But we have not discussed that risk on that project or any other, or how this process that you're contemplating and asking the manager to do in 30 days deals with some of that. And so, and the other, frankly, the other issue is that when a process is created, there is always winners and losers. Someone is allowed to do something and someone may not be. And at the point of which that happens, someone's going to say, well, why did the council decide to do that? If there's never been really a public address of that or an allowance for the public to talk about that, I get concerned that we end up being in some position that perhaps we had not intentionally allowed ourselves to be in. So I don't know what's driving it to be done from the floor without a public hearing. If there is a reason, love to know what that is, but I certainly think it would be advisable to do that. And so I'm a bit nervous about advancing it and doing it today. And
Okay.
But again, the subject matter is a good one and well worth talking about. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No problem. To address your concerns, number one, we're not asking that the council pass an ordinance that puts anything into place. We're asking that the manager create a framework that the council can then submit to whatever committee it wants, beat it up, and then an ordinance will come out of that. So the issue of whether or not there would be public discourse certainly has not been lost. It may not have come when you wanted it to, but frankly, there's nothing for anybody in the public to discuss. Secondly, in regards to the issues of winners and losers, true to some extent, but there's always going to be winners and losers, and we want winners and losers. Otherwise, we have to take everybody, and that means if somebody comes and says, I've got a process that nobody's ever heard of, nobody's ever tested, but I want you to do the same thing that you did for somebody who's already been through proof of concepts and laid some concrete down or something, we'd have to take them. That goes to your issue of risk. Two things would keep people out of, or companies out of the stream into this, as I understand it. Number one is they don't have a product that fits. It's not new. It's not revolutionary. It's not a substantial enhancement of an existing property or product or service. So it wouldn't fit. Under that circumstance, they go back through the procurement phase where they would, again, be able to either win or lose, depending on whether or not they were selected through the procurement process. The other thing that would keep them out is that we make a determination that despite the fact that their product or service is new, it's not something that we're willing to take a risk on because it's not tested enough, it's not firm enough, it doesn't work well. So we're not going to take a flyer on something that is risky, but we are willing to look at somebody who has a proven concept. Sylvester's concept is proven. We didn't do it here, so he went and did it in Texas, I think, and laid a bunch of these pads in Texas. Worked out quite well. But this is a Kansas City entrepreneur who did this and wanted to do it here first. I'm not sure it worked out, so then he takes it someplace else and does it. We're simply trying to capture the people who do things in this city that are new or substantial enhancements and do things that keep them here. And the process would have to be set up. Council is free to do what it wants to after they have something to hammer on. But right now, there's really nothing to hammer on.
And to that point, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate those comments, and really that's what I was hoping, and it wasn't clear from staff that
Sure.
whatever this product is in 30 days that the manager comes up with has that kind of public vetting. But if that is the expectation, that's great, that's fine, that's really all I care about.
Sure.
So that, and I don't mean to belabor the point, but as we found out, even with our service line warranty, which was publicly vetted, and we still, twice, and we still got some blowback. At least we could say we did it here and we did it here, and it's on film and you can go take a look at it. And that's really the same thing that I want to
Sure.
for that.
Yeah, there's nothing unusual about this. This really codifies what we do. So you're not going to see any brand-new concepts, I don't think. It's going to be stuff that you're probably aware of in isolation, put together in some sort of cogent plan to follow along with Councilman Taylor's Small Business Committee recommendations of streamlining, transparent, consistent, predictable. That's what we're after. Anyone else? Councilman Taylor, I knew that as soon as I said small business within 10 words of each other, smoke you right out. Go on. Don't be red in the face.
No, I'm not. I want to mention we're having a small business committee meeting Tuesday night with a theme. We're doing it down in the Crossroads area. Focuses on high-tech startups, what we can do as a city to help them. I've asked David Rao in your office, by the way, because I just saw this ordinance come out, and I thought it was a great idea. But resolution, thank you. To brief us, we have a few speakers lined up, and he's agreed just to give a quick overview at that meeting for the people attending that meeting to go through this. So
I suggest you give David several Cokes before he speaks. He needs that boost of energy.
all right.
Did you have anything, Mr. Sharp?
I did have another item I'd like to talk about under the subject.
Anything else on that one? Good. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I've introduced a resolution which most of us co-sponsored and seeking approval of it today to request the governor to veto a Senate substitute for House Bill 331, which was passed during the recent session of the General Assembly. And that is a bill that the Missouri Municipal League has requested that he veto. Several major newspapers in the state, such as the Star and the St. Joseph News Press. It really limits our voice in decisions on where to locate new cell phone towers. And I think the city has worked very well with the cell phone companies on locating these towers so that they will not only meet their needs but not be a blighting influence on adjacent property. But this legislation, which is similar to legislation that's been introduced in many other states, so it's kind of boilerplate like the issue we dealt with last week, prohibits us from, or any municipality, from evaluating applications based on the availability of other potential locations or on the option to co-locate that equipment on existing towers. It specifically prohibits municipalities from requiring the removal of existing towers as a condition of approval for new towers. And one of the things that could be the most harmful, in my opinion, it prohibits municipalities from imposing surety requirements to ensure that abandoned or unused towers are removed unless we impose similar requirements on other types of commercial development. Well, a two-story commercial building isn't necessarily a threat the way a 200-foot cell tower could be.
Certainly has alternative uses.
Well, that's correct. And also, while it doesn't say we can't impose screening or landscaping requirements, which we do as a matter of course on practically all our rezoning, they have to not be unreasonable, which seems to me to just be inviting litigation that, this requirement that you screen this tower is really unreasonable, or this amount of landscaping is unreasonable. And we can't deal with really the materials of the towers. And, of course, some towers are, in my opinion, just kind of ugly. But there's certainly the technology, and we've certainly seen it around this metropolitan area and in others, where these towers can be made to look very pleasing, where they blend into the surrounding area. They can look like flagpoles. They can look like trees. And these are just things that are part of the land use planning process that municipalities generally go through, no matter what the type of development is. So I do think this bill is an overreach, and I don't know if the governor will veto it, or if he would, whether that would be upheld. But sometimes you just have to speak up regardless.
Thank you, Councilman Sharp. Anyone else? Councilwoman Marcus.
Yes, we will be asked to adopt from the floor the contract for the new city auditor. So I think everybody's aware of that. We'll have a closed session, but that will come up today.
Thank you, Councilman Ford.
Mayor, it's my, I believe we will not have a quorum next Thursday for council. And it appears that at least 5 of us are going to be in D.C. for various meetings. As a result, we, even if we have a quorum, that will be by the thinnest number, and we won't be able to advance anything. So I would suggest that all committee chairs take a look at items on first reading and see if there's anything that can't wait for 2 weeks to see if we need to take it up from the floor today.
Thank you, Councilman Ford. Good idea. Anybody? Councilman Sharp.
And in fact, there are no items on second reading, so if we couldn't advance anything next week, we couldn't do anything with them anyway.
There you go. Anybody else? All right. Next item of business, future business session agenda items. Anybody got any future agenda items for business sessions? No? Then the next item of business is closed session if we have one.
Mr. Mayor, I move we go into closed session to address personal matters pursuant to Section 610.021, parentheses 3 of the Missouri Revised Statute.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we go into closed session to address personnel matters pursuant to 610.021.3. Morris and Moe, is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Wagner.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Ford.
What?
Johnson. Girls. Hello, I'm here.
Aye. Reed.
Circle.
Aye.
Glover.
Aye.
Marcus.
Aye.
Brooks. Taylor.
Aye.
Sharp.
Aye.
Aye.
Jane, can you give us a speech?
Don't say another word. It'll get
Thank
there.
you.
There's
We're in
another
closed session.